Good morning. I'm Luciana Turner, LT&A Company, bringing you this morning's tidbit. Oh, wow. Last week we discussed opportunities, we discussed strategic planning and government contracting. This week we're talking about contracting readiness. Yesterday I did a live strictly to my Facebook pages, company pages, and groups where I discussed, are you contracting ready? This morning I decided to go live from my personal page, uh, testing, 'cause I actually think the algorithm is messing with my personal page, but I decided to test it again this morning. But that's neither here nor there. If you're catching it live, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. If you're catching this by the replay, tag replay. So I could just acknowledge that you spent some time with me this morning and you gained value from the content. So there's 5 points to contracting readiness as a business that I want to go over with you because everybody talks about the registration. Everybody talks about contracting certification ad nauseum. And I hate that conversation. That's a rant that I'm going to go on next week. But nobody talks about contracting readiness. And there are companies contracting that just aren't ready. And then they go in and they flounder, they waste time, they waste money. They happenstance one track. They perform poorly. And I'm not saying that contracting officers bear some responsibility for contracting issues. There are some terrible contracting officers out there. Their communication level is subpar at best. Even I've experienced that. LT&A is a contracting company. We contract as well as insurance companies to do contracting. And I actually had my project manager switched out on me. And you know how I found out? Because my old project manager posted it to his LinkedIn profile. Mm, yeah, yeah, matchy at times. But that did not absolve me of my responsibility to know. Now, it didn't change the fact that the government failed to respond to my phone calls or emails. And this is going to sound two-faced and hypocritical. I was still responsible for knowing that information. Now, there comes a point where you just have to say, I did all that I could do. And that's where what I mean by I'm still responsible for knowing the information. You still have to make a concerted effort to keep the lines of communication between your contracting officer and your project manager and your program manager and yourself open. You can never rest your laurels. Total responsibility for communication off on the government. You, as the contractor, bear responsibility and you must shoulder that responsibility. But that does not mean that there are times where the government drops the ball, i.e., the example I just used. I mean, they just told they dropped the ball. What they did was irresponsible to a whole nother level and never acknowledged that they were irresponsible. And that have a direct impact on the contract. But you know what I did to finally get in touch with that program manager? I emailed everybody who contact information I did have. And by emailing everybody's who contact information I did have, they in turn emailed who they had until I was finally put in touch with the new project manager. That is ridiculous. I agree. But that's the links I had to go through and go to finally get the new person on the phone. And still had difficulty meeting with him because he was forever out of the office. He was forever either in a meeting or on vacation. Help my end. My communication plan was in effect. I have the emails, I have the call log because my company's communication plan was in full effect. But you know why it was? Because I had. Do you have a communications plan that you can one drop in a proposal upon request? Because a lot of RFPs, especially larger ones, are asking for your company's communication plan. Do you have one? What is the organization's standard operating procedures for keeping the lines of communication between the stakeholders? And if you do not have that plan written down, you should take time to draft that. Ultimately, the responsibility in contracting is on you as the contractor. Now, there are avenues of redress in your contracting, that you can file a complaint and you can, I'm going to say, salvage your reputation in the event the government does something that could cast a company. However, the responsibility is still on you to perform a higher level of quality. So, are you ready? Are you